Achievements are kinda silly, aren't they? If it's finally winning a challenging sport event, or getting the Nobel Prize for inventing lobotomies, with gaming equivalents of that being finally beating that one redhead who gave you crippling trauma, or building a Warframe machine in Minecraft. We like to have those fleeting moments commemorated and being immortalized for as long as possible, although some might argue that the most productive thing would be to simply move on. It's over. You've done it. Do the next thing. But that is not how we humans are, and gaming companies picked up on this and gave us in-game achievements. Little things to point to and shout out loud, I did it! I beat the game! But nowadays, the modern day gaming philosophy has evolved to the point where a player needs to feel achieved at all times. Otherwise, your game is a failure. A game needs to drag you from slight endorphin rush to the next to keep you hooked on fluffed up content, so it might keep competing for your attention to trick your ass into dragging itself over the finish line, although you feel pretty mad about it. It's the reason why when I boot up my Space Samurai Simulator game, it throws at me half a dozen different collectibles into my inventory between every fight. Why it wants me to talk to the same shit global name fella that spawns all over the map just to get a glorified audiobook experience about how his shit globin wife left him. Why I end up doing botanical drive-bys to collect some random seeds to not even get some cool Stardew Valley like mini gameplay loop out of it, but then the rooftops of some random building on the map gets decorated with pre-made sloppily crafted assets. It's the reason why games look like TV commercials trying to constantly sell and keep track of what bloated side quests you could do next. It's the reason why level-based experiences get thrown away in the favor of giant open world maps that with their emptiness drag the playtime over the 100-hour mark. It's the reason why we are getting games advertised with being so big and full of experiences. So that the CEOs and others in powers who do not really have anything to do with gaming and whose digit on their paycheck and kilometers very well describe how far away from planet Earth they truly are, have an imaginary quota fulfilled.
It is 4 times the size, have 16 times the detail, open world, multiple nuclear missile sites on the map, huge world, quests, story and leveling up, multiplayer. Had a lot of difficulties at launch, and we got a lot of well-deserved criticism. Cringe.
AAA gaming is kinda cringe. So, how about a little indie game worth 8 European bucks that is so devoid of both fluff and content that it lacks both a tutorial and an expensive achievement list, with only one mysterious unlabeled one being displayed on your Steam page? A game that is so devoid of everything that it's about half a gig big and runs smoothly on any PC with multiple hundreds of FPS? How about a little indie game called When you boot up the game, you are not greeted with an endless wall of tutorials, but are expected to know that you should follow the shining light and to shoot at enemies with your left mouse button when they appear. You are not welcome with an endless open world, but a very limited circular arena surrounded by a deadly black abyss. You are not made acquainted with an HP bar and its discolored and misshapen brethren, but instead you will die on each and every contact. Getting hit or trying to pause the game will result in you needing to start an entirely new run. You have one continuous chance at this. One life. You're very much on a constant edge. The game is chasing you around with different shaped skulls and hellish looking tentacle towers seemingly birthing them. After probably a few restarts that are filled with the monotonous cycle of running around while listening to satisfying skulls cracking wide open collapsing towers and the rewarding sound of getting those flying sweet red gems, you survived for a continuous half minute. You think to yourself, oh, I get it. This is one of these infinitely progressing roguelike games where you progress for so long until the game has thrown so many enemy waves at you that you cannot simply keep up with them anymore. And you are very much right. But this is also the time frame where the game starts to throw you its first of very many curveballs in the way, and you might be more worried currently about the giant spider-legged skull popping out of the giant abyss. What exactly is its deal? Why do the gems you previously collected start to miraculously fly towards its mouth? Why are your daggers sometimes not working. What is this ugly, very ugly laugh that is getting louder, and louder? This enemy is called a spider. It goes into a defensive position if you do not keep a steady fire rate on it, and its main job is to suck in all the gems that are currently flying and lying around in the arena to transmute them into eggs that shortly after their appearance birth 5 tiny spiderlings. These also one-shot you, by the way. Its secondary task is to divide your attention so that enemies like the level 3 skull can sneak up on you. Unlike the middle child of this enemy class that just floats seemingly randomly about, this piece of bone does target the player directly like its smaller counterparts, but slightly faster. They spawn from level 2 squid towers that need both of their gem sockets to be destroyed for the structure to perish. For the next 160 seconds or so, both of these towers spawn in pairs, meaning that as a new player you will end up with probably multiple of these fellas chasing you around while you desperately try to clean the board from any floating monster, tower, and please do not forget about the hungry beast that if you do not deal with it or at least temporarily make it hold, will turn all these juicy, fruity, and invigorating gems into new, tiny, crawling threats. With the worst thing being that this simply keeps on going until not only another spider spawns but also is accompanied by an entire new curveball in the form of this centipede here that has its complete underside dotted with red gems, and you guessed it right, you need to destroy all of them. You might already notice the small and minute predicament you find yourself in when encountering this exact scenario. If you try to eliminate this new type of enemy first, congratulations! You just gave the spider an entire Michelin 5-star meal and turned the arena into a second Australia. Focus on the hungry fella over here and you run into the danger of getting knocked by the centipede and skulls. Because although it looks like it's moving in random waveform patterns, it is actually slowly tracking you down and very prone to cut you the way off. Your attention is divided because in this game, attention is a resource and the game tries to thin it out as much as possible. As a bit of a fun fact, did you know that if you look at the leaderboard, most of the players have only played about 76 seconds of the game, and all the lasting for over a whole minute is one whole achievement that you should be proud of. This also means that over half of the player base has neither seen this nor any of the other enemy types in the game. Thus, I would deduce that it's fair to say with statistical certainty that Devil Daggers is hard, and gamers do not like stress. After all, they are prone to easily fall into a hissy fit just when they see more than 6 colors on the screen. And trust me, I know what I'm talking about, as I am a gamer. And every time a girlie comes up to me to ask what shade of blue fits best for her weapon skin, you can call me colorphobic, cause I do not and cannot see a fucking difference. I would crank my graphics settings down into grey box mode if it meant that I can witness my own headshot in more FPS. What's that? More game sense and empathy towards my teammates in a competitive team-based shooter. What I heard is, sell your little brother's PlayStation for a monitor with more hertz. So, color me surprised. When I went back to the game's Steam page and it was reviewed to be overwhelmingly positively received. Like a German kid in the 1800s, I really tried to mine for coal, but instead I was surrounded by golden reviews. The bad reviews that you can find by filtering them out specifically are mostly about how hard the game is and how most people on the top of the leaderboard are filthy cheaters because there is no filthy way that they are that filthy good at the game. In contrast to that, over 8,000 people on the other hand try to allure and honey trap indecisive Steam users who stumbled over this game with the help of essay-worth walls of text into trying this game out. So just like them, they are trapped in the never-ending loop of addiction that consists of hahaha, funny number that goes up followed by the hours of grinding for it to do so again. See, this is funny because it is true. The reason why people like this game so much is because all of these simple gameplay mechanics come simply together in their simple ways to create a simple but nice experience. Gems, as an example, are a resource that come flying towards you the moment you stop shooting, making the player choose between defending themselves and farming more gems, or to retrieve the already existing ones before they despawn within a couple of seconds. To drive this mechanic of slight decision making further, the game punishes you for using shotgun bursts to get rid of singular big targets by pushing nearby gems further away from you. This is especially nasty if you are in a tight situation. You are meant to not only find the sweet spot between acknowledging immediate danger and to edge your luck as much as possible, but to use your quite simple tool in a precise and optimal way to gather resources. A resource that unlocks after a certain threshold 3 upgrades for your dagger hand. While the first upgrade only makes you shoot more projectiles, the second upgrade introduces homing missiles, which can be used by pressing the right mouse button for the cost of using up 1 collected gem. This is a monkey's paw kind of deal. Do not use the homing missiles at level 3 at all costs. Admittedly, they help extremely to simply nuke a board sparkly clean, completely wipes and obliterates a stacked board in a matter of seconds and thus pushes your high score by multiple seconds as well. But this game is balanced around these upgrades, so at first they seem to make progressing through the game more easy, but to compensate for that, the game simply starts to throw you more and especially tankier enemies into the way. So without the 4th and final upgrade, you simply push that roadblock you were so much struggling against further back for it to only become harder and steeper to overcome. This game is based around these simple decisions regarding simple matters. Now the connection and meaning behind these aforementioned roadblocks should be pretty clear. They are not there to exclusively annoy and make you question your life choices when you need to restart an entire new run to just be defeated by the same enemy. The reason why the game starts to throw you more and more enemies into your face until it simply spawns half a dozen squid towers at the same time is to make you acquainted with the idea that a sheer present quantity of enemies isn't really that scary. You need to learn how to live with them, learn how to ride the waves, to direct them like a herd of sheep, to ignore them and actually focus. Not only for when the board becomes more chaotic because you lost control of it, but also to use the squids as farming tools for more gems. More gems, after all, means to get these juicy upgrades even faster. The reason for the game to make you fight 2 separate spiders at 2 distinct points in time before starting to drop them onto you in packs of 3 is to teach new players to not just let gems loosely fly around the place. Hey, stop shooting once or twice so you do not end up with a whole spiderling infestation. They are also there to direct new players into the outer circle of the arena, in hopes for them to figure out that this is the safest place to be, as squid towers naturally gravitate towards the middle of the map. The centipede might be an extremely scary enemy to deal with at first, with many players panicking and simply not knowing what to do. But in reality, as funny as it is, this is the game making you a gift. An experienced player, as an example, knows how to dive under this elaborate demon dangle noodle and milk it dry out of its 25, I repeat, 25 gems in a second or 2. When it first spawns, there is some considerable time of nothingness going on, at least until the next enemy wave spawns. Its behavior to hide underneath the earth from time to time gives inexperienced players enough time to catch their breath and try to comprehend your situation and how to deal with it over the course of multiple runs. So when the game throws you centipedes that are double as long and stay above ground all the time, you have a chance to deal with them. It's about figuring these simple things out to get better with each new run, to edge the high score just a bit further, to become so good that you can't even remember how it was to suck in this game, and to finally blast these roadblocks into oblivion. The thrill and the adrenaline rush of reaching a new personal record gets slightly pushed back later into the gameplay loop and is replaced with an underlying satisfaction of efficiently going through the motions and enjoying the melodic symphony that is created from cracking skulls, exploding towers and collected gems. This little game that is about running in circles becomes a satisfying and addictive habit because it limits itself to the most simple basic it needs to function and fulfills them as best as it can. And if I needed to package all of what I just said into one singular thing that I can point to show exactly what I mean, it is the fact that this game only has one achievement. An achievement that is obscured until you fulfill its requirements, so you will actually not know what you need to do for it until you've already done that. This is very funny, because the achievement is as simple and silly as the rest of the game. I would argue that it is the game, as the achievement tells you to simply play the game, to simply survive as long as you can, to simply reach the 500 seconds mark. I would even argue that you could see this as somewhat of an ending to an endless game. After all, it's the only time the Devil Daggers takes the effort to congratulate you outside of the game for anything. After all, you get rewarded for crossing this milestone by receiving a uniquely colored dagger and a paint color for your leaderboard ranking that differs from the classical bronze, silver and gold look. After all, the 500 second mark is only 150 seconds later after something spawns that in this context could be very well seen as the end boss of the game. A creature that never ever spawns ever again, has a very cinematic entrance compared to the other enemies, and has a unique feature of being a double-faced boss fight. I believe that this achievement, and the fact that it's really the only one, beautifully encapsulates the simplicity of this game, that in its eyes, the only thing worthy to display in your Steam page is that you have simply played it. A lot, emphasized by it being in fact a hidden achievement, as without being a little rascal and looking it up on the internet, you would never even know what to strive for, and instead stumble over it naturally simply because you enjoy playing the game for what it is.